Now, I want you to think about this for a second. If car manufacturers, now that they are starting to produce more electric cars, if they want to get people to buy those cars, how would they do it? What would be a great strategy to get people that have the money, say the little bit older 45 plus people, to buy the EVs that they are now making? Well, to me, a genius idea would be to make old cars that has some memories from their childhood, some cool memories from when their first cars and so on. Take those cars and turn them into electric modern equivalents that they can produce today. One of the best concept cars that I've seen in recent times is the Hyundai Pony concept, which is almost an exact replica of the old Pony from the late 70s, early 80s, something like that. And they just took that car and turned it into an EV. And that's exactly what I want to do here with the first generation Volkswagen Golf. To me, it just makes sense. It would be such a cool idea to take cars or specific models, for each car brand, and turn them into electric cars. It has some emotion connected to it, specifically if you used to have this car back in the day, say 20-30 years ago. So how do we turn the first generation Golf GTI, the Mark 1, how do we turn this into a modern EV? Well, we need to focus on the small details, and this redesign is going to be, I'm gonna take my time with this redesign and focus on the small details and make this into what I think could be a great looking EV, modern EV based on the first generation Golf. So what that means, for example, we have the headlights right here. These needs to change, obviously. We need them to be updated. And you see the bumper here, I kind of want this to be body colored here so that we have some sort of modern feeling to the design when we look at it. There's not a lot of modern cars today that have a black bumper that sticks out from the front of the car, so that needs to change as well. And since we have this now body color, I don't want to have that continue into the side and into the rear as well. And look at the wheels here. I love these wheels. The reason for that is it says Pirelli on the tires and the wheels themselves, and you have these holes in this plastic cover here are small P's. So this is a cool design. I think it's a retro design, but it could work today if we just fix the stance of this car. And that means we need to move out this wheel just a bit, like that, a couple of inches, move it out so that it sits further out from the body of the car. Also make it a little wider and also increase the diameter of the wheel itself. Now, other than that, proportion-wise, it's a Giugiaro design. It's one of the most iconic small hatchback, if not the most iconic hatchback of all time. So I'm not gonna change the proportions too much, but I want to have it just a little modernized, and that means that I want to have this the height here. Right now it's almost 50-50, which is typical for this era, but it's not typical for modern day standards. Today we have about 70-30 at some points. If you look at a Mercedes CLS, it's almost 80-20, so you have 80% body down here, 20%, which creates the greenhouse. But we're not gonna go that extreme. We still want to have it be a retro looking car. We still want to have it be an original Golf Mark 1, although in electric form and with modern materials. So what I'm gonna do is just raise up this line right here and lower the roof line by just a couple of inches. Not too much, not too crazy. I still want it to look like a retro car, as I said, so lowering it too much is just gonna ruin the original Golf proportions, and we're not gonna do that. We want to keep it clean and keep it recognizable as a Golf. I love this red graphic in the front. This is typical for the Golf, the GTI, of course. So we're gonna keep that graphic in the front and work on the grille treatment here. What I do love about the original Golf is just the simplicity of the lines. I love this era of design just because of that. It's a timeless design. You have this beautiful shoulder line right here, which we're obviously gonna keep. I might just remove this trim here and have it be a simple just edge here, or line in the or crease in the body of the car that kind of reflects. So you have this surface right here reflecting one piece of sunshine right here, and then you have the bottom piece right here reflecting a different type of shade. So you have two shades no matter what angle you look at on this car, and I think that's going to be pretty cool. Basically have it the same as it is right now. We just work a little bit on the proportions on the roof line of the car, and have it be some modern proportions between the greenhouse and the body of the car. Other than that, small details like removing the windshield wipers, work on the design of the side mirror here, the fuel cap, the door handle, all of these small details is going to go into this redesign. So I'm going to take my time and let's see how this is going to turn out. The Volkswagen Golf is the godfather of hatchbacks, with a design that has evolved and been refined over decades, just like the Porsche 911. Instead of redesigning what the Golf is completely, each generation stays true to the character of the original one. However, with the latest generation of the Golf, it seems a little too big and, at least to me, a little too digital. That's why I'm going to modernize the original Mark I Golf into a modern EV version of it in this video. The Golf name comes from Golfstrom, German for Gulf Stream, and in the first edition the Mark I Golf appeared in 1974. This was way before hatchbacks were remotely popular, and this made it a bit of a gamble for Volkswagen because they didn't really know how their customers would react to this shape of car and this brand new segment. But as we all know now, the Golf was the car that turned the hatchbacks into the massive category of cars we have today. It's not as big in the US as it is pretty much everywhere else in the world. It was designed as a replacement for the Beetle with a front-engined, front-wheel drive setup. The proportions of the car of the first Golf are simple and yet beautiful and functional lines were, of course, penned by designer Giugiaro. And if you wanna talk about an instant hit, then listen to these numbers. By October 1976, barely 2 years after its introduction to the world, Volkswagen has sold over 1 million Golfs. The reason for the hit was practicality of the design and, of course, the driving characteristics. This is a small car and people were not used to having so much fun driving a car. The Golf was a neat and efficient family car that would get you from one point to the next without making much of it. However, when a few enthusiastic Volkswagen engineers decided to tinker with the Golf's performance after hours, little did they know that they would start a huge trend and that would take the automotive world by storm. The Golf became a proper performance car. The Sport Golf project, as they called it internally, grew into the Golf GTI and was released in the late 1970s. The Mark I was an enormous success for Volkswagen, and in 1983 the Giugiaro design was updated by Volkswagen's in-house design team to create the larger Mark II Golf, and the sales, they kept increasing, and the Mark II went on to sell 6.3 million units before the arrival of the all-new Mark III at the end of 1991. It was named 1992 European Car of the Year after the Mark II had previously lost out to the Peugeot 205 and the Fiat Uno, two other very cool hatchbacks. The more luxurious and expensive Mark IV came out in 1997 with a softer design language than the previous models, which was pretty congruent with its time. The even larger and faster Mark V came along in 2003 and the slightly updated Mark VI in 2008. There have been many special edition Golfs over the decades, and it seems the earlier the model, the more sought after it is. Models like the Mark II Rally, which combined the Volkswagen supercharged G60 engine found in the Corrado Coupe as well with its synchro four-wheel drive system, and the lifted off-roader Golf Country, these are two highly collectible models. While the GTI has always been front-wheel drive only, Volkswagen decided to offer all-wheel drive for the Mark IV Golf R32, which is one of my personal favorite Golfs of all time, if not my favorite Golf of all time. A 3.2-liter V6 power plant made it the most powerful Golf variant of the time, and following Golf R models would continue that trend. I wish Volkswagen would create something like this, because I would buy it in a heartbeat. Just in an instance, I would put a deposit down on this if they came out with something like this right now. Because have a look at this, and then have a look at the current generation Golf GTI. I mean, it's pretty clear which one you would choose, at least me. This doesn't have any, it doesn't have a soul. It feels like a consumer electronics product. It's more like a product design. It's not it's not a car design, and it lacks all kinds of identity. But if you imagine having an electric car like this parked outside on your driveway, how cool would that be? And it's a brand new car, so that means all the materials, everything is new on this car. All the safety features, all the build quality, it's a brand new car. It has nothing to do with the 1970s Golf GTI. All the materials are brand new, all the safety regulations, everything is built into this car, and I would love to see something like this. And I would love to, for Hyundai for example, to build the Pony concept, to make a statement, and hopefully if they would build something like that, maybe, just maybe, Volkswagen would maybe consider creating something like this. But as you can see here, lowering the roofline creates a immediate more of a modern design and modern proportions when you look at it. If we just switch back and forth here, let me show you what I mean by the proportions. So let's switch to the original. You can see how tall the roofline is. It's a beautiful design for that time period, but if we're gonna make a modern version, we need to make some adjustments to the proportions. Even though if I wanted to keep these proportions, it's just not gonna make sense in today's world. So lowering it just a tiny bit, keeping the hood as it is, working on the graphics of the car, and also the small details, as I said, the windshield wipers, the mirrors, the door handle and the fuel cap and the wheels, and also bringing the car lower to the ground with these parts right here. For example, this side skirt, and also work a little bit on this front lip here to be integrated more in the body of the car, in the overall design of the car, because I think these two parts here, they flow well with the original design, because the original design already had almost wide body fenders on the original Golf GTI Mark 1. So we can just add some, we can have a continuation of these fenders into the side of the car, and then have them continue into this front lip here as well. I think it works perfectly fine. And also, of course, round headlights is a must for the if we're gonna modernize the original Golf GTI. So that's what I took here as well. Working a little bit on the grille, just covering it up, not having a mesh grille because we don't need cooling for an internal combustion engine. Work a lot on the A-pillar here. As you can see in the original, we have some plastic pieces here, which is very 70s and 80s, and that wouldn't work today. So I had to update that as well. And that's pretty much the redesign today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, because this was a lot of fun. And I think I'm gonna make a couple of these take some retro cars and make them into EVs. What will they look like today? I might even make a rear view of this, because me, myself, kind of want to see what that would look like. So if that's something you want to see, let me know in the comments below. And thank you as always for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit the like button. Really means a lot to me and to the YouTube algorithm. So YouTube knows people like it, it's gonna show it to more people. It's just fantastic. And subscribe if you're new. Thanks again for watching. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.